The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. The alien fleets drifted near the outer rim, their engines humming softly, their commanders confident that Earth had no power to challenge them. They laughed among themselves, calling humans weak and primitive, a species barely worthy of notice. Yet on the far edges of the star charts something moved, something that made every scanner flicker and die for a moment. The alien operators stared in confusion. Their readings were impossible. The signals were unlike anything they had ever seen. Admiral Corrin, leader of the Imperial fleet, slammed, his clawed hand on the console, his eyes wide with alarm. "What is that?" he growled, his voice echoing in the command chamber. The officers scrambled to respond, but no one had an answer, only fear. The human Dreadnought had appeared from the void, a shape larger than any starship the Empire had ever built. Sleek, dark and glowing with an energy that seemed alive. It moved slowly at first, almost lazily, but its presence was enough to freeze every alien heart in terror. On Earth, the crew of the Dreadnought worked silently, every movement precise, every command measured. Captain Elias watched the main screen, his face calm, a faint smile playing. On his lips, the galaxy had doubted humans for centuries, and now it would learn the truth. The Empire sent out reconnaissance drones, small, fast ships designed to scout and report. They sped toward the unknown signature, their sensors ready. But as they approached, each drone disappeared without a trace. Their transmissions cut off mid-signal. The aliens panicked. "Impossible," shouted Commander Vex. "No vessel can disappear like that." He turned to Admiral Corrin, eyes wide. "They are hiding something terrible." Corrin nodded, but his mind raced. The Dreadnought was already too close, and there was nothing he could do. Inside the human Dreadnought, the engineers monitored the alien signals, laughing quietly. They had prepared for this. Every weapon, every shield, every system was ready. Earth had waited centuries for this moment, and now, the Empire would pay for underestimating them. Back on the Empire's flagship, the Council of Generals gathered, their scales glistening under the dim lights. "We face a weapon we cannot name, a force beyond our knowledge," one whispered, fear dripping from every word. The elders had never imagined humans could build such power. As the Dreadnought moved closer, the alien fleets formed battle lines, weapons charging, energy shields rising. But the humans did not fire. They waited, patient and silent. The Dreadnought seemed to float like a shadow across the stars, its engines humming a low, ominous tune. In the Empire's communications room, alarms blared, reports poured in, entire squadrons of scouts vanished, entire regions of space were suddenly empty. The Dreadnought had entered without warning, without challenge, and the Empire realized too late that they were unprepared. Captain Elias observed the galaxy through the main viewport, his voice calm but firm. "Prepare for engagement," he said, but the words were not rushed. There was no fear, only purpose. Every human aboard knew their mission. Every human believed in their strength. The Dreadnought emitted a pulse of energy, small at first, a warning, but enough to disable the Empire's sensors across multiple sectors. Panic spread like wildfire. Commanders shouted orders. Fleets tried to regroup, but nothing could pierce the humans' shields. "Retreat," screamed Vex. But it was too late. The humans had already begun their approach. The Dreadnought cut through the darkness of space like a blade, leaving a trail of shimmering light behind it. The Empire watched in horror, knowing that history was being rewritten in front of their eyes. Every commander in the room felt the same chill. The Dreadnought was not just a weapon. It was a statement, a challenge, a symbol that humans had grown beyond their supposed weakness. The Empire had mocked them for centuries, and now they would understand the cost of arrogance. As the Dreadnought closed in on the outer rim fleets, a silence fell over the galaxy. Ships hung frozen, engines idling, sensors failing. Even the void seemed to pause, watching, waiting. The humans were coming, and nothing in the Empire could stop them. The final moment before contact was tense. Every alien heart raced, every mind screamed for solutions. But Captain Elias remained steady. His hand rested on the control panel, eyes fixed on the Empire fleet, and a single thought ran through his mind. Simple, powerful, unstoppable. Let them see what Earth has built. And with that, the arrival was complete. The Dreadnought loomed large over the Empire's forces, a shadow across the stars. And for the first time in galactic history, fear had a new name. The galaxy had never known such silence, not even before the deadliest supernova. The Empire's fleet stared at the dark shape moving through the void. The human Dreadnought, massive, silent, and unstoppable. It did not rush. It glided, yet every pulse of its engines made alien hearts tremble. Admiral Corrin's claws clenched the control console, his eyes wide, scanning every report, every reading. But nothing made sense. The Dreadnought seemed alive, like it could anticipate their moves before they even began. A living shadow in the cold stars. Commander Vex paced the floor, scales rattling, his mind frantic. We cannot stop it. Our weapons fail. Our shields falter. Nothing works, he yelled. But the other generals only nodded in silent fear. For the first time, the Empire realized humans were not a threat to ignore. They were a threat to fear. Inside the Dreadnought, humans moved with calm precision, the engineers adjusting. Power levels, the weapons ready. Yet the humans waited, silent like hunters watching prey. Captain Elias observed the Empire's fleet, his mind sharp, every movement calculated, every strike predicted. Suddenly, the Dreadnought shifted, a pulse of energy rippled through space. Scanners across the Empire flickered. Alarms screamed. Entire squadrons of alien ships went dead, drifting like empty shells, and the fear that had begun as confusion became pure terror. In the Empire's council chamber, the generals whispered in disbelief. It moves faster than our fastest ships. It can disable entire fleets without firing a shot. The words barely left their mouths before another fleet vanished. Corrin's voice shook. We underestimated humans. We made a mistake. The Empire scrambled, their fleets forming lines of defense, energy beams charging, missiles armed. Yet the humans did not fire. They let the Empire come closer. The Dreadnought's presence alone was enough to weaken their courage, their arrogance crumbling like brittle metal. Fire everything, Vex roared, desperation in his voice. The Empire unleashed waves of energy, millions of shots tearing through the darkness. Yet every weapon struck an invisible barrier, sparks and explosions bouncing harmlessly off the human shields. The Dreadnought barely flinched. Captain Elias watched calmly, his hands resting on the control panel. He whispered to his crew, "Patience. Let them strike first." The crew nodded, knowing every command was perfect. Knowing humans had learned the art of war for centuries, preparing for this exact moment. The Dreadnought moved again, slowly encircling the Empire fleets, its engines humming a low, terrifying note. The alien commanders realized they were surrounded, no escape routes, no blind spots, nothing, and panic spread. Ships attempting to flee were picked off by small, unseen drones. Strikes precise and deadly, reinforce the shields, Corrin barked. But it was too late. The humans had already calculated their moves, anticipating every action, each fleet crippled without a single human casualty. The Dreadnought became a shadow of doom, looming over every planet, every ship, every general in the void. Stars reflected off the Dreadnought's hull, its energy pulsing like a heartbeat, a warning to the galaxy, to the Empire, to anyone who had mocked Earth. And in that moment, fear became real. Fear became knowledge. Fear became power. The human crew continued their silent advance. Weapons ready? Engines humming, shields glowing, but still they waited, observing the crumbling alien fleets, letting panic and chaos spread like wildfire through the Empire. The Dreadnought had become a predator, and the galaxy its hunting ground. Suddenly, the Empire's supreme warlord arrived, a massive figure, on a colossal command ship, energy radiating from his vessel. "I will destroy it myself," he boomed. The generals froze, some trembling in fear. They knew legends of his might, yet even he seemed small before the human Dreadnought. Captain Elias smiled faintly. "Let him come," he said calmly, eyes steady. The humans trusted in their design and their training and their strength. They knew the Dreadnought was unstoppable, a force beyond imagination, a nightmare made real. The warlord charged, his weapons blazing. Entire fleets behind him. The galaxy watched, holding its breath. The first clash between human and empire about to happen, and even the bravest alien soldiers felt a cold fear, the kind that whispers, "This may be the end." The Dreadnought moved with silent precision, dodging energy streams, closing the distance. The void itself seemed to bow before it. And for the first time, the Empire understood the truth. Humans were not weak, humans were not primitive, humans were unstoppable. And in the command room of the Dreadnought, Captain Elias spoke one word, calm and clear. Engage. The crew activated the first systems. Energy hums filled the ship. Lights glowed brighter, and the galaxy knew. The humans had begun their strike, and fear had become real. The void shook with silence. The Empire fleets had never known terror like this, their weapons ready, their shields raised, but their confidence had vanished. The human Dreadnought loomed ahead, massive, dark, and alive with energy. It waited, patient, calculating. Admiral Corrin's claws tightened around the console, his eyes wide, scanning every reading, his mind racing. "Target them! Fire everything!" he barked. But even as energy beams arced toward the Dreadnought, the human shields absorbed every strike, sparks flying into the emptiness of space. Captain Elias watched calmly, his fingers resting on the controls. "Let them waste themselves," he said softly. His crew silent, precise, their confidence unshaken. The humans had trained for centuries, every movement calculated, every outcome anticipated. Then, without warning, the Dreadnought struck, not with a blast, but with a ripple of energy that shattered the Empire's formations. Fleets that had charged together were torn apart, their engines failing, ships spinning into the void, alarms screaming across every vessel. "Impossible!" Vex shouted, scales rattling, his eyes wide. "They cannot do this. Our fleets cannot be destroyed so easily." But even he knew the truth. Humans were no longer weak. Humans were predators, and the Dreadnought was their weapon, their symbol, their wrath. Small human drones detached from the Dreadnought, swift, invisible, moving like shadows. They infiltrated the Empire ships, disabling engines, cutting communications, turning the fleets into chaos. Panic spread. The Empire's commanders shouted, but no one could coordinate. No one could save their forces. Captain Elias smiled faintly. "Now," he commanded, and the Dreadnought unleashed its first strike. Beams of concentrated energy cutting through the darkness, precise, powerful, unstoppable alien ships exploded in silence, fragments drifting into the void like fallen stars. The Supreme Warlord roared, his colossal ship moving forward, energy shields glowing, weapons charging. "I will not be defeated by humans," he bellowed, but even he felt fear claw at his heart. The Dreadnought moved with precision, dodging attacks as if it could read his mind, anticipating every move. The humans had studied the Empire for decades, every weakness mapped, every formation memorized, and now it showed. The Dreadnought struck at the exact points, destroying engines, weapons, entire crews. The Empire's pride shattered in minutes, their arrogance now their doom. Inside the Dreadnought, the crew worked silently, their eyes steady, hands precise. They were the calm in the storm, the shadow in the void. The humans had become legends in a single moment, their presence alone enough to terrify the galaxy. "Target the command ship," Elias ordered, his voice calm, even as alarms flashed on the bridge. "Focus fire on the warlord, nothing else matters." The crew adjusted, weapons locking on, the energy hum of the Dreadnought growing louder, more ominous, more unstoppable. The Empire's fleets tried to regroup, to escape, but the humans anticipated every path, every vector, every formation. The Dreadnought struck like a phantom, invisible and inevitable. Ships were destroyed before they even knew what hit them. Entire squadrons disappearing into nothingness. Vex screamed, desperation in his voice. "We must retreat. We cannot win." But it was too late. The humans had taken the advantage. The Dreadnought moved through the chaos like a shadow, unstoppable. The galaxy itself seemed to pause and watch. Then the final blow came. A concentrated beam struck the Warlord's ship piercing shields, tearing metal, energy exploding across the void. The warlord roared in fury and fear. His fleet scattered, leaving nothing but silence behind. The humans had shown their power, their supremacy, their wrath. The Empire's commanders stared in disbelief, fear etched on every face. This cannot be happening. One whispered, but they all knew. Humans had arrived, and the Dreadnought had rewritten every rule of war. Captain Elias lowered his hands, eyes calm, a faint smile on his lips. "It is done," he said softly. The crew around him nodded, silence filling the bridge, yet the Dreadnought remained alert, ready, patient, a predator in the void, and the galaxy had learned a new truth. Fear had a name now, a force no empire could ignore, a weapon no fleet could withstand, and the humans had only begun. The first strike had proven their might, but the story of the Dreadnought, the humans and their unstoppable rise had only just begun. The void was empty now, the Empire's pride shattered, their fleets broken, and in the darkness, the Dreadnought glided silently, a warning to all who would dare challenge Earth, a reminder that legends are born in fear, and humans were no longer a species to underestimate. The galaxy was silent again, but the silence was no longer empty. It was heavy, filled with fear, filled with whispers of humans who had shattered fleets without mercy. The Empire's pride lay in ruins, but their curiosity burned brighter than fear. Admiral Corrin stared at the remains of his command consoles, holographic maps flickering with the ghostly shapes of destroyed fleets. How can one ship do all this?" he muttered, disbelief and panic twisting his voice. The Empire had studied humans for centuries, yet this was beyond prediction. Inside the human Dreadnought, Captain Elias moved calmly, observing every sensor, every reading, a faint smile on his lips. He knew the Empire would now come closer, desperate, curious, and they would make mistakes. Humans thrived on mistakes made by others. Engineer Mira adjusted the energy cores, her hands precise, her eyes sharp. "Captain, the Empire is sending their scouts again. They want to see what powers us," she said, voice steady. But beneath her calm, excitement shimmered. Humans had secrets, and secrets were weapons. Elias nodded. "Let them see, but not too much," he said. Curiosity kills overconfidence, the crew understood. Every move now would shape the fear that would spread across the galaxy. The Dreadnought was not just a ship, it was a message. And the message was simple. Humans are unstoppable, across the void. The Empire gathered what was left of their fleets, small ships, scouts and intelligence vessels, hoping to uncover the secret of the humans' strength, hoping to find a weakness. Commander Vex's eyes burned with a mix of fear and rage. "We will find it. They cannot be this strong without a flaw," he shouted, but his voice sounded hollow even to himself. The scouts approached cautiously, their sensors scanning, their weapons ready. But the humans had anticipated them. The Dreadnought's surface shimmered, energy fields bending light, hiding the ship's core, hiding its true power. The scouts reported nothing, their instruments confused, readings impossible to interpret. Inside the Dreadnought, Elias activated a new system, the Phantom Protocol, a device humans had hidden for centuries, capable of manipulating energy, bending perception, creating illusions in space. The Empire's fleets would see what they wanted to see, not reality. The first scout reported an enormous fleet behind the humans, thousands of ships all ready to strike. Yet when they turned, there was nothing, just darkness, confusion spreading, panic returning. The Empire's scouts fired blindly, destroying empty space, wasting ammunition, wasting time. Vex growled, scales rattling. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. But no one had answers. The humans were ghosts, their Dreadnought a phantom, and the real power remained hidden, silent, ready. Suddenly, a wave of energy pulsed from the Dreadnought. Scanners across the Empire went blind. Communications jammed, ships spinning, engines failing, and then, just before disaster could strike, the humans reappeared, their weapons charged, the Empire realizing too late that every move had been a trap. "Captain, the scouts are down, and the warlord's ship is isolated," Mira reported, excitement in her voice. "Shall we finish it?" Elias shook his head, calm. "Not yet. Let them feel the fear first, the dread first." The humans understood that fear was as powerful as energy, as powerful as weapons. In the command chambers of the Empire, panic turned into desperation. Koran and Vex watched as reports came in, ships destroyed, scouts lost, confusion spreading, and finally one message from a surviving captain. "It is alive. It is not just a ship. It thinks. It predicts." The words were barely audible before communication cut. The Dreadnought hovered, massive, silent, its energy humming a low, terrifying note. The humans had revealed nothing, yet everything had been revealed. The Empire now understood. Humans were not just strong. They were intelligent, unpredictable, unstoppable, and their Dreadnought was only the beginning. Elias looked at the crew, eyes steady. "The galaxy believes. It knows humans," he said softly. "But they are wrong. They never knew." The crew nodded. Every human aboard knew the truth. They had waited centuries for this moment, and now it had come. The warlord's ship moved closer, colossal and terrifying, hoping to strike before humans revealed more. But the Dreadnought's sensors detected every movement, every energy pulse, every intention. The humans were ready, waiting and patient, predators in the void. A single pulse of energy lit the darkness, small, precise, enough to disable the warlord's engines, leaving him helpless, the Empire watching in horror, realizing that humans were not just destroyers, they were teachers of fear, masters of strategy, and harbingers of doom. The Dreadnought's true secrets remained hidden, yet the Empire already knew enough to fear, enough to hesitate, and hesitation in war was death. The humans had revealed the impossible, and the galaxy could not unsee it. And as the void returned to silence, Captain Elias whispered one word, calm and clear. "Prepare," the crew understood. The next phase of humanity's strike was coming, and this time, nothing would survive. The galaxy held its breath, the Empire's fleets trembling in the void, the Dreadnought gliding silently, colossal and alive, its energy humming a deep, terrifying tone, a warning that echoed in every mind that dared to watch. Admiral Koran's claws were white on the control panel, his voice hoarse. "We cannot fight them. We cannot survive this." Every officer on his bridge stared, disbelief and fear painted across their faces. Centuries of pride shattered in minutes. Captain Elias leaned forward, eyes calm, every movement measured. The humans aboard the Dreadnought understood the meaning of patience they had struck before. Now they would finish, not in haste but with precision. With inevitability, Mira tapped the energy console, the Phantom protocol still active. Illusions scattering the Empire, ships destroyed by their own panic, weapons wasted, crews demoralized, and now, Elias activated the final system, the hidden weapon of humans, a force beyond imagination. The Dreadnought's surface glowed with blinding light, energy cores humming, channels converging, and the void itself seemed to bend toward the ship. The Empire could only watch, powerless, as a massive wave of energy began to gather, unstoppable, unthinkable. Commander Vex's roar echoed across the void. "We will not die like this," but even his fury could not hide the terror. His fleet scattered, engines failing, weapons jammed, every attempt at resistance falling into chaos. The first Empire command ships were obliterated before they could react. Beams of concentrated, human energy slicing through void and metal alike. Explosions silent in the emptiness but terrifying in scale. Chunks of ships drifting like dead comets. Elias's voice was calm, steady, commanding. "Let them see. The end." The crew worked as one. Every calculation perfect, every move timed. The humans had learned from the stars. Their patience turned into destruction. Their knowledge turned into power. Vex tried one last desperate strike. A volley of missiles aimed at the Dreadnought, but the humans anticipated, deflected, and absorbed the attacks. the missiles exploding harmlessly in empty space, their power wasted, their hope gone. The warlord's flagship moved forward, colossal and imposing, engines roaring, weapons charging. But the Dreadnought waited, patient, silent, and then, with a single pulse of energy, the warlord's ship was caught in a gravitational trap. Engines crushed, weapons destroyed, the colossal vessel spinning helplessly. The Empire's fleets fell one by one, the void now filled with fragments, scattered debris, a galaxy witnessing the rise of humans. A power no one had imagined, no one had predicted, and yet it was real, unstoppable, undeniable. Inside the Dreadnought, Elias stood, eyes calm, surveying the devastation. "It is done," he said softly. Yet even as the crew nodded, they knew the humans were not finished. The message had been delivered. The galaxy had learned to fear. Mira smiled faintly, energy readings stabilizing. "Captain, all targets neutralized," she said. The crew silent. The humans had not celebrated. Victory was not a moment, it was a statement, a warning to every corner of the galaxy. The void was empty now, silent except for the Dreadnought, a predator gliding through shadows, and then, one by one, transmissions reached the humans. Intercepted messages from the Empire. Fear in every word, confusion, disbelief, surrender unspoken. Elias activated the communications console. A single message sent across the void. Simple, chilling, and clear. Humans are here. We do not forgive. We do not forget. The galaxy would remember. Every empire, every fleet, every commander. The Dreadnought moved toward the remnants of the Empire, not in haste, but as a warning, showing strength, showing intelligence, showing humans were no longer prey, but hunters, masters of strategy, of war, of fear itself. Admiral Corrin collapsed in his chair, scales rattling, voice shaking. We cannot fight them, never again. The Empire's pride, centuries in the making, destroyed in hours, their fleets mere shadows of what they once were. Elias turned from the viewport, eyes steady. "Prepare for the next phase," he said. The crew understood. Humans had struck. The galaxy had learned. But their story was far from over. Every action a lesson, every victory a message. The Dreadnought glided silently, massive, patient, alive, a harbinger of humanity's rise, the galaxy's worst fear, the unstoppable force that would forever change the balance of power. And in the void, only one truth remained. Never underestimate humans. The void swallowed the wreckage. But humans remained, watching, waiting, ready, and the galaxy would never forget the day Earth struck fear, the day the mysterious human Dreadnought arrived, and the day humanity showed its true power.